We're going to go over lesson 5 for code.org. This is going to be about board events. We're going to go through levels 1 through 7 for this one. First thing is our vocab. We've got a new vocab word, input. An input is the information computers get from users, devices, and computers. On your Microbit, you got a couple of inputs. So the buttons are two different ways that information is being inputted into the Microbit. Other ways that you get input is through the wireless module. There can be things wirelessly transmitted. You've got a microphone, you have light sensors. Those are all ways of putting information into the computer, which is your Microbit, as well as the touchscreen on your app. So let's get started. Level 1 is going to be a kind of like a questionnaire for us. So it's asking the onboard events. We have a new block here. Block allows you to start taking input from your Microbit. Look at the program with a partner and discuss what you think it'll do. Once you've come up with an answer, click on Run and then check your answer. And then we can put in our answer right there. So I'm just kind of looking at this. We've got onboard events. And then the element selected is button A. Click. And then the action is down. So this is a lot of like what we would do on the app, but this is going to be happening on the board, your Microbit board, instead of on the screen itself. And we see that it's LED screen on 0, 3. So if you remember kind of from before, what we were working on is that these are the XY coordinates, and it's starting from the upper left, and it starts at 0 because we have 5 LEDs. We have a 5 by 5 grid. And computers like to start at 0 instead of 1. So it'd be 0 to 4. So I think the x coordinate is going to be 0. So it'll be on the left side, and it'll be the fourth one down because 3 is actually, if we start counting them, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's that fourth one down. So let's try that. Left and fourth down, and let's run it. Okay, I'm going to select my device now because I haven't plugged this in yet, and connect. So now it's running, and we can see that it has not changed on the screen yet on our Microbit, and that is because we need to press button A, which I think is this one. There we go. So there's button A, and we can see that it did light up, and it is on that side. The camera's flipped, but it's on the left side, fourth one down. Nice. Let's move on to the next one. All right, for this one, it is using board events. Right now, the LED turns on when the A button is pressed down. Add code so it turns off when the B button is pressed down. So I think you guys have probably already figured out these onboard events is the same thing of like on event when we were using our apps in the last lesson. So it's working the same way, but this is kind of now that because we're working with the Microbit instead of the screen on our app, we're using a different kind of event button for this. So to do this, and what we want to do is we're going to be kind of working with this. To do this, what we want to do is when button B is pressed, turn the red LED off. Add another onboard event block. So right now we've got it of that when we press the button A, it turns it on. We want to have it so when we press B, it turns it off. So we're going to drag in a new onboard event. We're going to choose the other button. So it's going to be A is on, B is off. And when we push the button down, and we want to do off. And so for here, we want to have the same coordinates for the LEDs. So we're going to indicate the same one. So it's going to be 0, 3. And let's run it. Which one now? Okay, yep. So for me, that one is A. So I'm going to press A. And then B, A, B. Nice. Level 3. Instead of using the B button, we can make the LED turn off with the A button when the A button comes back up. So it'd be kind of like you press it and hold to have it turn on, and then when we let go, it turns off. So we can do this now we're going to bring in another onboard event, and we're going to choose up. So we're going to drag another onboard event. We're keeping it on button A, but now we're going to say when the button goes up, because when we click it, if we hold it, now it's still down, and now when we let go, we kind of hear that like up little click. Now the button is going back up. So we're going to drag that over there, and it is on 0 and 3. Let's try this now. So we're going to run it. Which one for me? All right, so if I press A and I hold it down, it turns on, and I let go, off. Nice. Both these buttons actually work. I've got our book from our classroom, so there's our button. What it looks like on the inside is there's this metal plate. It's very tricky to try and figure out. Okay, there we go. So you got this metal plate, and it goes across, and you can see it's kind of bowed up, so it bends up a little bit. And what happens is that when you push the button down, it kind of snaps down, and it makes a connection there. So what it's trying to do is, this is one end of the wire, that plate right there, and the other end of the wire is right there. And what happens is that for electricity to flow through, and how the computer knows if the button is pushed, is that if this metal plate, so you can see this metal plate touches right there, when you push the button down, then the metal plate then makes connection here. And that is going to complete the circuit so that electricity can now flow from here to here, and that completes the circuit. So what's happening is that when electricity is flowing, we've got the button down. So if electricity is flowing, then the microbit knows that the button is pressed down. And then when it goes up, the electricity stops flowing, and now the microbit knows that the button has gone up. So that is what the inside of the buttons look like. Okay, we're moving on to the next level. Updating the screen. So you can also use buttons on the microbit to update elements on the screen. Let's create an app that updates the image to show arrows pointing left and right. Okay, I'm excited about this because this is, now we're getting into the magic here of where our physical device, the microbit, is interacting with the phone app that you're creating. So to do this, when the A button is down, show the arrow pointing right. So when we press the A button, the arrow points right. So here they just have the comments, and again, these are comments. A comment in code is designed to be kind of the human notes. This is things for us humans to read because computer code sometimes can be confusing, so it's nice to leave little notes for ourselves. And so that's what code.org has done. So we are going to bring in, now we've got our UI controls. These are for the computer app, and these are for the microbit. So whenever we interact with the microbit, we'll use this one. So I'm going to drag in that onboard event. On the event that the A button is pressed, and then we're going to use the set property. So when we press the A button, we want it so that the arrow, and let's see, the ID on the arrow is arrow image. So we want to have it so that the arrow image, that image property is going to change so that it's pointing right. So we're going to select that drop down, select icons, and right, I typed in, and we're going to select right arrow. And we have that. Let's try that out before we move on to see if we got this correct. So I'm going to click on run. When I press the right arrow, wait, no. There we go, that was A. Okay, so when I pressed A, it ran. I pressed B before. Press A, goes to the right. Okay, that's good. So now we're going to do the same thing for something similar for the B. When the B button is down, we want it to point to the left, the opposite direction. So we're going to drag in another onboard event because we're working with the microbit. We're going to say when the button B is pressed down, then it's going to change that same arrow image property to the left. So I'm just going to type in left, and select our left arrow. Feel free to get wild and crazy here and be like, you know what? I'm going to go with a hand pointing left because that's funny. Go for it. All right, let's try that out. So we're pressing A, goes to the right. B goes to the left. Nice. We're going to go ahead and click on finish, move on to the next one. Practice levels. So we can choose from the following. For my class, I want you to choose 2 of these and try those. Complete 2 of them. Go for all 3, really. It's really good practice. These give you different scenarios. We'll start off with A. Usually they go in order of difficulty. A is the easiest, then more difficult. All right. Debugging. So the app below is meant to update based on how the user interacts with the board. However, the wrong events are displaying. Can we fix the errors so the correct text appears and the correct events? Let's see how this works. So first, I'm going to read the code. And I can see when I press the button A, so when button A is pressed down, then this label, and so it's, yep, that's that, should say the B button is down. That's wrong. And then when it goes up, then it says the A button is down. That's wrong. Okay, all right. So we're already kind of seeing what's going on here. Let's try this out. So A button is down. Nope. So I hold it down and it says B button. Nope, that's A. And then if I press this one, it says B button is up. I'm pressing the B button now. And that's letting go. Okay. Well, that's all kinds of wrong. So we can easily fix this one. So A button is down. So really, this should be the. I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard. The A button is down. Yup. And I'm going to actually press tab. If you press tab on the keyboard, when you're already kind of in here, it cycles through each thing that you can then modify. And then I'm going to use my arrow keys to navigate. That's just, I think it's easier to get a precise movement on there. So here we got the A button is going up. So this should say the A button is up, not down. Okay. Now we've got the B button is down, and so it says the B button is up. That's not right. We know that this is going to be when the B button is down. And for this one, the B button is up. So then the A button, it says right now, but no, we know that that should be the B button is up. So let's run this again. We're going to start off on pressing the A button. A button is down, A button is up. Okay, B button is down, B button is up. Nice. We're going to try out the next practice. LED blinker. Create an app that simulates a blinker on a car or bicycle. Okay. Create an app that simulates a turn signal on a car. When the user presses the A button, the left side of the screen should light up. And when the user presses the B button, the right side of the LED screen should light up. When either button is released, no lights should be showing. So thinking through this, when they say screen too, I'm kind of thinking of like, we do like 2 rows of LEDs on both sides to really make it bright. Would be cool. So, looking at our code that they left for us here. When the A button is down, turn on the left side. And when the B button is down, turn on the right side. When the A button is up, turn off all the LEDs. When the B, okay. So we haven't learned the code yet for making it blink, like just as we're holding the button down. What we're going to do is we're going to manually be pressing the button if we want to like have the blinker. So we want to start off with not an on event. We are going to be using the physical buttons on our Microbit. So we're going to select Microbit, drag in a new event. This is going to be for the A button. When we press it down, we want to turn on a whole bunch of those. All right, so I'm looking at my Microbit. The left side, so that's going to be 0, 0 is going to be the left. But again, the video here is mirrored, so it probably looks like I'm pressing on the, well, no, yes, the left side. But Sometimes it's tough to think spatially like this. Okay, so we're going to do the first 2 rows. Knowing this, that means that we're going to start off with 0, 0. I'm going to show you guys a pro trick here. I had to resituate myself. You can drag in all of these blocks and kind of keep adding them. We know for that first column, the x coordinate is going to be 0 for all of them. And then I can put in 1. A really fancy thing you could do is if you switch over to text. Now, we can be careful about this is that if you make a mistake, it won't switch back to block, and it can be trickier. But I switched to text view. You can do this too. You can just keep going with like the blocks if you want. But what I did is I wanted to switch into text because now I can paste out my code. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, and then paste in 1 more. So now I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the y coordinates on all of those. And let's just run this to make sure we're getting this correctly. So if I'm pressing the A button, yep, there we go. They all turn on. Okay, that's what we wanted. Now we want to do this for the next column too, because I want all of them to show up. So instead of doing a bunch of blocks again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of that, copy, and then paste. This line I can just leave. That's okay. And for this, I just know that now all we're changing is just the x coordinate because the y coordinate will stay the same. We're going to go all the way down that list of LEDs, but it's going to be over 1 row on our LED grid. And so we want it, now it's going to be those. So let's try this again. Let's run it. And now it should be 2 rows, 2 columns. There we go. I like that. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to block view. And so you can kind of see we've got all of our text here. So we're going to now do the same thing of we're going to drag our onboard event. And we're going to bring that over here. But this time it's going to be for the B button. It's going to be when we hold that down. I'm going to go back over. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do both. I'm going to drag over these, right? So now this is going to be it's still lit up here. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3. So x is going to be 3. We want that 4th column over, which the x value is 3. So it's going to be 3, 0, and it's going to start at that. So if we wanted to do all of them like that, we could just kind of keep dragging them in, and it would be like 3, tab 1, 3, tab 2. You know what? That's kind of easy too. That didn't really take a whole lot of work. Instead of clicking on them, what I'm doing is I'm using the tab key to kind of just jump to the next one. So that way my hands can stay on the keyboard. 3, tab 3, and 3, 4. So now that will be our 4th column. I'm going to run it again because I've done this a lot and I always, it's easy to make a mistake. There we go. That's what I wanted. And then we're going to do that last column as well. You could switch over to the text mode, copy and paste it, make changes, but I'm just going to keep adding these on. I'm going to do tab 4, and now just kind of help myself remember that. I'm going to drag in a bunch of blocks here. All right, so now it's going to be 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, 4. Okay, let's try this before we do that last part. So if I press A, wait, no, because I want it so that it's, oh, I didn't click on run. Okay. So A, okay, and B, okay. They don't turn off yet because we haven't coded it to do that yet. So down here now we have when the A button is up, turn off all of them. So we're not going to individually do that. We can use clear screen. So we're just going to do onboard event that the A button goes up. So we're letting go now. We're breaking that electrical connection and clear the whole screen. Do the same thing for the other side. Button B goes back up, breaks the connection, clear all of the LEDs. Let's reset. Let's run it. Okay, so now let go. There we go. We're turning. Nope, we changed our mind. We're going the other way. Hazards. Watch out. We got both of our lights blinking here. And now we've got a party. Nice. Let's move on to the last one. This one is the yes or no communicator. Create an app that uses button presses on the LED screen to communicate yes or no answers. LED screen, for example, yes or no questions. For example, lighting only the top of the screen could represent yes, and lighting only the bottom could represent no. You could also kind of create your own little emojis on there, right? So you could do like a check mark or an X on there for whether or not if it's yes or no. I'm going to move on. If you do that one, awesome, but I'm going to let you figure that one out. So I'm going to now move on to the number 6, assessments. This is going to be kind of our test one here to figure out how test our skills that you got. You got some new skills. All right, mood descriptor. This app shows how I'm currently feeling. Beware before you knock on the door. Okay, so we can put this on our door. I like this idea. And we want like a face on there. Okay. Angie is working on an app that lets them, Angel is working on an app that lets them communicate their current mood to a screen that can hang outside their door before anyone enters their room. From inside their room, Angel can press buttons on the Microbit, which updates the app on the outside of the room. Angel started designing the app, but they haven't added any code yet. So they've got kind of like the visuals of their app, but they haven't added the code in there for making those changes. What we need to do is when Angel presses the A button, show a happy face. When Angel presses the B button, show a sad face. When Angel releases the A button, show a neutral face. And when Angel releases the B button, press a neutral face. Okay, so it's only when they're holding down the button that it shows happy or sad, depending on which one. And then when they let go, it goes back to neutral. Okay. Let's try that out. On the events, when the user presses the A button, show a happy face. So we're going to use our Microbit here because we're going to be making changes to the Microbit, and it's going to be working with that event. So when they press the A button, when it's pressed down, all right, then we are going to not change something on the Microbit, but we're changing something on here because this is going to go kind of on the outside of the door. So they've got their screen is on the outside of the door, and they're using their Microbit as the button controller for it on the other side of the door. So we're going to change the property of this element. So the element we're going to change is face image. So we're not doing an event because it's not an event that happens on the app. It's an event that happens on the Microbit because we're going to press those buttons. So we drag set property. So on the event that we press the A button down, then we want the face image to change to a happy face. So we'll select face image, and it's the property of image, and we want to change it to a happy one. So we'll go to the icons and happy. There we go, and now we spell it right. Okay, so now it's got the happy one. Let's run it just to make sure we're on the right path here. So it's going to be the A button. So I'm going to press A. There we go. All right. Okay, we're on the right path. We know that how we're thinking through this is correct. So we want to keep going with this. So now we want to have it when they press the B button, it shows the sad face. So this will be another Microbit event because we're going to press the button on the Microbit. And this will be the B button. So when it's pressed down, we want to change this face to a sad face. So that is going to be a user interface control for the screen. Set property, face image, image, and then, I don't know if you can see that right there. I'll move my face up there. And we want to change it to an icon and sad. Frowny face. Okay. For these blocks, now we want to have when a user releases the A button. So now when the button goes up, so when they say release, that means we're letting go of the button, so the button is going to pop back up and break that electrical connection. So it's going to be another microbit event. So when the A button goes up, and then that little metal plate moves, we're going to change the properties. So face image. The image of that is going to go back to the neutral face. How do they call it neutral, or they call it just meh? The meh. Yeah. That's how I feel sometimes. So I felt before my coffee this morning. Like, meh. All right. This one's going to be when the user releases the B button, it goes back to neutral also, because we got the A and the B as two separate buttons. So we're going to do the same thing, but just for the B button, when it is released, it's going to go up. And our property that we want is it's going to be the face image property, and that will go back to meh. Okay. Let's see how this goes. So we've got okay, I'm going to press A first, smiley, and it goes back. Oh, look at that. And then B. Okay, so somebody comes up to our door. Hey, how's it going? Okay, that's good. Or, how's it going? Okay, I'll get you some hot chocolate or something like that. Nice. We're going to move on to the last one. These are challenge levels. So if you're one of my students, you're going to choose one of these challenges and you'll record a 30-second video and turn it in. Again, these usually work in easiest to most challenging for the challenges. So we've got a random movement. Use the buttons on your device to move an image randomly on the screen. Okay, you guys kind of did that in the last one. You're clicking on the smiley face and then it would move around, but now you're going to have the clicking event be on the microbit. Day and night. Switch between a day and a night environment using the toggle switch. Correct or incorrect. Create an app that uses the play sound or play speech block to make a correct or incorrect responses. Oh, so it'd be like a little quiz game that you're kind of creating. And then an even more challenging controller app. Create an app prototype where the microbit can be used as a game controller. Ooh, I like that one. And the lock-unlock app. Create an app prototype where your microbit could be used to lock and unlock a device. Now, I think for these last two, I don't know if we've got the blocks of code where we can do that. Like this one, we wouldn't be able to actually unlock our phone itself, but you'd be able to create a prototype to test that idea where maybe the screen would say lock or unlocked, and it would change based on what you're doing, but you would kind of figure that out as you're prototyping it. I want to look at the controller app here, and we've got from Microbit, then we've got different onboard events. Okay, that's cool. And then the different screens. This is you then kind of use it as a little game controller of something that is moving around on the screen perhaps. But I think for this one, I think you guys know how to do that one from our last lesson. So I'm going to do the day and night one for this. A little coffee to get me going. All right, day and night. Use the design mode to create two scenes represent daytime and nighttime. Several assets have already been provided in this level, but you can also search for more on the internet. Add code so when A button is pressed, the scene is during the day, and when the B button is pressed, the scene is at night. You can use the hide element and show element to change what images are displayed based on the toggle switch. Note, instead of using day and night, you can choose a different pair of opposites to represent with this app. land and sea or light and dark. The important thing is that we have that when you press the buttons, it changes between two opposites. I like that. So it gives us instructions here of do this. In the design mode, we're going to create a daytime scene, and then the nighttime scene. Note that in design mode, that two scenes will appear at the same time. You can hide some design elements by default by checking the hidden checkbox in the design elements. So looking at this, we've got like one screen there. And so here we can switch over into the design mode and kind of start dragging things out there. And then in code mode, that's when we're going to be doing that. So what they're saying is that we can kind of lay out everything. We're going to use just simply one. We can create multiple screens. So that could be one way that you do this. You would create a new screen and you can maybe switch between the screens, or you can hide and show different elements on there. So that would be two different ways that you could then kind of design and lay this out. Looking at this, I'm going to just start off with a simple one here. So I'm going to put my image on here, and I'm going to have this be our daytime thing. And for the image, I want to select choose, and it's going to be a goose. All right. And so they were saying that there is a show and hidden button. So this is down towards the bottom of the list of properties for that element that we're working with. And this is where you can then set it to then be hidden or shown. And I don't know if it'll show up on the video very well, but what it's done is it's kind of like washed out a little bit. So it's kind of opaque, so I can still see that there's a duck there, but it's kind of transparent to indicate that it's hidden when the code starts. So I'm going to leave that one there. And I'm going to put in another one. Now again, this is going to be a very simple thing. You should really create something that's more complex than this, but I'm just going to put in another piece of text. And I'm going to leave this as time label is the ID I'm going to give this text. So I'm going to change the image and the text when we go along. And I'm going to put in another one. Let's see here. So I'm going to put in another image here. And I'll choose a different one. We'll go with a rabbit. And okay. So on yours, you'd want to like put some more time into this. Like you can really create something that is really fun on here. I'm going to switch over into the code mode to kind of walk you through how we would kind of go through this. So these events that are going to be changing. First, what's going to happen is that this is going to be on the microbit. So it's going to be when we press something on the microbit, it's going to change something on the screen. If I was setting this up, I think what I would do is I would have like a little like plastic figurine on top of the buttons. So if I press the A button, I'd have like a little like plastic goose, and I'd push the goose down, and then it would change to the goose like daytime. And then I'd push the rabbit and it would switch to like the rabbit evening time. And so that's where it gets to be really fun of using the microbit, because that's not the computer. So you can start to create, like think about how you're going to create things that are different. So I've got on the board event of A is pressed down, it's going to be daytime. And on board event, when we press the B button, it is going to be nighttime that we're going to have on here. Okay, so I kind of made a little mistake there when I was recording. So we're just jumping back into this one. And I'm going to show you what I created, but I did not record that part. So I'm just going to show you guys how this app now runs. We've jumped ahead to the future. When I press A, we get hello sun and the duck, and it turns yellow. When we press B, we get hello night and the rabbit and a black background. What I would challenge you then is to go further with this and couple of different ways of one, add in more elements and really kind of create a whole scene of like, again, you want the two opposites. Another thing that you could do is really customize this. You can put some cardboard on here. It doesn't need to look like a microbit. And you can also add in little icons here. So you could have like a whole thing where it says like daytime and nighttime as like two totally sort of like an off-screen thing. And then you can even have that like sitting down by the screen. So it's like you'd see like daytime and have like a picture of a rabbit or a picture of a duck. And then nighttime, a little picture of a hare. And when you push one or the other, it's then going to be changing the scene on there. So what you're doing is you're creating a physical device that doesn't look like a microbit. You're creating something that fits with what you've created on the screen. And now your on-screen displays and changes are going to fit well with how your microbit looks as well. You're kind of creating this seamless experience of something that's really kind of interesting. And you could even switch into design mode, have multiple screens, have kind of like a little welcome screen saying of like, hey, like this is like the magical time selector and you can move forward and backwards in time of day. And you push one and it moves to nighttime. You could do something, go crazy with that. So we're done with that one. I'm going to have you guys keep working on that one, get creative with it. Looking at these other challenges, the correct and incorrect, again, they give you kind of a little thing of like how to get started. So correct, incorrect, kind of like you're creating a little quiz game. This, again, I think would be really fun of like create an actual quiz game that goes along with it that you can play with friends, where you've got a friend on the left and the right side, and they are then pushing the two different buttons, and it's like who can press the button first, and it like lights up on like which side pushed down first. And looking at these other challenges in the controller one, create an app that uses the buttons or toggle switches as if the microbit were a controller for a game. For example, using the A and B buttons to select which character you play. You may not be able to create a perfect app yet. So this is going to be kind of like the prototype. So you'd create a screen that says, hey, like, welcome to Mr. Matt's awesome coffee game. Who are you going to play? Will you be coffee mug number 1 or coffee mug number 2? Make your choice. And then we're going to have the two different ones on there. And then you select like, and then say like, press A or B. And then it would have like the different things. And like you select one and then the screen changes. And it's like, you've selected disposable coffee mug. Here are your special abilities. And then, I don't know, and then it starts like making some sound, and the game's getting going, and then there's some lights that are going on the screen. Yeah, I think you can get really creative with that one as well. When you're done, you're going to then create your video and turn that in.